progress, not perfection, right? And really living by yeah, just taking messy, imperfect action. So I honestly believe that my success is because I just do it and I'm not scared of failing. And when I do fail, I don't even think of it as failing. I'm just like, oh, great, that's not how not to do it. And oh, great, I've learned that about myself. And yet completely committing. So this launch, where I think it was 380,000 USD, it was my first challenge that I've ever run, Simone, right? But I committed to it like it was my 100th challenge, right? And if we go back to the beginning, when I set up the Facebook group, I showed up in that Facebook group like I had 10,000 people in there, and I probably just had my brother and my sister and my family members, right? So I think I know you're all about the energetics. I think the energetics of how you approach something is really, really important. Showing up with the energy of 10K months, if you're not there yet, 50K months, 100K months.
Hello, my loves, and welcome to Create Your Life. My name is Simone Leah, and I am your host. And I am so excited to be here with you guys today because today I have the absolute pleasure of introducing you to the one and only Hayley Hall, who is one of my personal mentors. She is phenomenal. She's an absolute powerhouse of a woman. She has such a beautiful light that comes out of her. She's so warm, but she's also so incredibly switched on and she does such amazing work. So, we are going to be talking today about creating a business, a 500K a year business, just using your Facebook group and the mindset that it actually takes to becoming limitless. So, this conversation was phenomenal because I started with the topic of the 500K a year just using your Facebook groups because I thought that was a really easy round number for you guys in the actual name, like, 500K a year. But Hayley actually just made 380K USD in 30 days just recently, and she's still never paid a cent in advertising. So she is phenomenal. I love her. I have worked with her for all of this year, actually. She's actually just such a phenomenal human, such a giving human. And in this interview, we go through why you would even use a Facebook group, what her motivation was for setting up her Facebook group, what got her into making Facebook groups, and how she actually gets people into this Facebook group and converts them into clients. And then we also talked about what having a limitless mindset actually looks like and some of the habits that she has every single day that help her to be that best version of herself, always continuing to expand and grow. So I know you guys are going to love this episode. And yeah, take lots of notes. There is so much in it. If you want a business that is just step by step, this is what you do. This is how you get clients. This is the human that Hayley Hall is. She will give you the breakdown on exactly what you need to do to get where you want to go. So she is phenomenal. And I really hope you guys enjoy this interview. Hello, my loves, and welcome to Create Your Life. My name is Simone Leah, and I am your host. And I am so excited to be here with you guys today because today I have the absolute pleasure of introducing one of my personal coaches, the amazing Hayley Hall. And we are literally going to be talking all things creating a 500K a year business and just using your Facebook group, literally no ads, nothing. And then also how you actually develop that mindset to become limitless. So, welcome, Hayley. I am so pumped to have you here.
I am so excited to be here. Thank you so much for having me. I have a feeling that this conversation is going to be lots of fun.
Oh my goodness, it's going to be insane. I literally was just telling Hayley like 3 minutes ago that I've been wanting to introduce her for like and have her on the show for like 6 months. She is phenomenal, guys. Like, you guys don't even understand. This woman is just like this beautiful energy. She's so sincere. She really cares, but also she's kicking butt at business. So, like, what's not to love? So, I'm super excited to have you here. So, thank you so much.
Oh, you're more than welcome. I'm so stoked to be here.
Yay. Well, let's dive into the show's question of what does creating a life you love actually mean to you?
Well, I think that's such a beautiful question. And actually, this morning I was reflecting on that. So, just to give some context, I've just come back from an epic business trip. So, I'm part of a mastermind and they choose different locations all around the world to meet up. And it just so happened that this mastermind was in the Dominican Republic. And my family keeps saying, did you enjoy your holiday? I'm like, it wasn't a holiday, it was work, right? And they're like, we're not so sure if you're scooting off to the Dominican Republic whether this is really work, right? But it genuinely was. And so I've just come back from that trip, and this morning I took a week off when I got back, and this morning was my first day back in the office. And I was reflecting on that exact question, right? And I was just thinking, wow, I am living right now a truly blessed, limitless life, right? I'm living the life that I wrote down as I teach my future diary entries. So my future all those years ago of, oh, wow, but I'm actually doing it today. And one of the things that's really important to me, if we're talking about designing a life that we love, is the fact that I have ultimate freedom, Simone. Right? So I literally get to decide what I do, when I do it, with whom I do it. And I'm like, that's success to me, right? When you can decide what you want to do and then you have the freedom and the flexibility to be able to make it happen. So for me, it's about prioritizing my family. It's about working only with ideal, dreamy clients. It's about doing work that sets my heart on fire. Like for me, this is it.
I literally love that. And guys, if you guys follow Hayley on Facebook, which I really hope you guys do end up doing this, you'll see that she has such strong values around her family and actually having time for her family. So what she teaches, it's not like do as I say, but not as I do. She actually embodies this life where she's actually created something it's a little bit of family, it's a little bit of business, it's a little bit of everything. Like it comes across as so balanced. And having like worked with Hayley for the last 6 months as she's one of my coaches, she just has such a balanced, holistic view of everything. So, yeah, I love that that was your answer. And I am so excited to jump into this because everybody will be sitting there going, how do I get this? How do I get this? So, run us through how do people make money just using a Facebook group?
Well, I think some context around why I wanted to keep my business so simple is probably important. I worked corporate before I had this business, and I was literally working like 70-hour weeks. And I loved my role, don't get me wrong, I really did. But it was really, really full on. And I think I didn't realize, I suppose, how hard I was working, how stressed I was working. At one point, my husband said to me, "You do realize you have like a scheduled breakdown." I was working in education, so I was the director of boarding of a private girls' school. So I was legally responsible for 117 teenage girls, right? And I think it was at one point when Mike was like, "You do realize you have a scheduled breakdown like after term one every year." And I was like, "Oh, okay, maybe this isn't that healthy." And it was in this role, to cut a long story short, someone came into the organization, we weren't aligned, and so I decided to hand in my resignation. And during that time, it meant that I had to leave my job, my six-figure salary, the house that we were living in because it came with a house, and we had to move somewhere else. And during that period, I was not working, and so I was spending a lot more time with my children. And my daughter and I were packing up her room. We were surrounded by all boxes, and she turned to me and she said, "Oh, mummy, I don't wish I had a different mummy anymore." And honestly, Simone, when she said that to me, it was like she'd taken my heart and she pulled it out my chest and ripped it into a million pieces. And in that moment, though, I had like a flash forward of my life. And I realized that if I stayed doing what I did, I would continue to be successful, but it would be at the absolute detriment of my relationship with Audrey. And so in that moment, I made a really, really important decision that whatever I created and whatever I did next, I would make sure that it was, as you said, in this really, really balanced way, in a way that I could have really great relationships with my children, my husband, my friends, my family, build a business that did a really, really important work, but also didn't sacrifice my soul. And so when you ask me the question, okay, well, how is it that you have such a simple business? I think before we get into the nitty-gritty of how I did that, it was behind this why of knowing that I wanted to create a business that I didn't need to be a slave to. And so when I came online and initially all these, well-meaning coaches and gurus were telling me, oh, you've got to do sales pages, you've got to have a a website, you got to do ads. What I realized very quickly is that if I listened to those people and I did that, I was going to fall back into the trap of creating this monster that meant I was working 70-hour weeks and not being able to have a great relationship with my children. And so my mantra from day one is, yes, I want to build a really, really successful business, but I want to build it in a really aligned, balanced way. I want to build it in a way that I can have great relationships, I can have great health. Like today, my first day back in the office, I went for a 45-minute run, right? Because it's like, yes, I've got a lot to do. You know what it's like when you've just come back after a break, but it's like, yes, but I've built a business that allows me to make sure that I'm looking after my health, my relationships, my spirituality, my finances. And so to answer that question initially, I think it's really important of getting people to ask themselves, what's your why behind your business? So for me, my why was really, really clear. I wanted to create a business that meant I could prioritize the people that are most important to me, which is my family, and do really, really important work and make the world a better place in the way that I can. And to round up that story, me and Audrey's relationship has never been better, right? She'll regularly, like on my desk right now, is a post-it note from her saying, "You're the best mummy in the whole world," right? So we've absolutely healed our relationship, and we're in a really, really good space now. But it wasn't until I set up this very, very specific business with this very, very specific agenda of keeping it simple, that I was able to do that. And you're absolutely right. How I did that was setting up a Facebook group almost accidentally, right? I was like, oh, I'll just set up this group. And then I went from zero to $10,000 in 90 days. I grew the group from no one in there to 1,100 people in 6 weeks. And then I just kept on doing what I did until I was having 50K months, 100K months. And it's interesting, you mentioned building a $500,000 business, which is absolutely what I've done. But you might have seen I also just secured, I think it was $380,000 in 30 days. I'm just using my Facebook group. So it just continues to get better and better. Did I answer the question?
Yes, I love that. I love that you've given context as well, because I think there's so many people out there who are like, I need to do all the complicated things and I need to go really hard and hustle for the first 4 years. And, I have to block out everything in my calendar and just be in on my business. Whereas you're like, no, from day one, my intention was to have this space to give to my family and my own
Mm.
life, as opposed to just giving everything to your business. So I literally loved that you built with that intention and shared that story. So thank you. So what did you do? Like, how did you get there? And congratulations on the over 300K month, which is super, 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 super exciting. Like, it's crazy to think, like, if you just replicate that even once every quarter, that's huge. So yeah, like I'm sure everybody is like, how do we even do that? Like, but let's start from the beginning. How do we build a Facebook group, and how do we draw people into that and get clients? How did the journey happen?
Yeah, absolutely. And I think just to touch on what you just said, you're absolutely right. So I think I should have prepared my numbers, but I think it was 380,000 USD in 30 days, right? So you're absolutely right. So I replicate that every quarter, and that's a very nice yearly sum, right? But I think what you touched on there, which I really, really want to emphasize, I didn't start there, right? I didn't start by making $380,000 in 30 days. I started with a very, very simple strategy. So really excited to share that with you and your listeners. So I think the first thing we've already discussed, which is like getting really intentional and not suffering from what I call shiny object syndrome. So I think, and I had this as well when I first came online. There were just lots of people saying, "Do this, do that," and I do this and I do that, but it wouldn't actually put any profit into my business. And so being really intentional about the why behind your business, and then getting really, really strict on yourself about not suffering from shiny object syndrome. And so my strategy that I teach is setting up a Facebook group, which is a really, really niched Facebook group, right? So we're not trying to be everything to everyone. We're deciding, okay, what is my niche? What is the problem that I'm an expert at solving at? And how can I create a Facebook group that attracts those specific ideal clients into that group? And then I teach, as you know, something which is very simple called an organic funnel. So we're not building funnels. I spent months and months creating funnels and no one ever built from, right? This is an organic funnel where our Facebook group acts at the center of this. So we work out how we attract our ideal clients into our Facebook group, how we nurture them once they're inside our Facebook group, and then how we convert them to become a paying client. So the simple steps are set up a very, very niche Facebook group, and then every day set about just talking to your ideal client. And what I mean by that is work out what is their specific problem and how are you an expert at solving, and then just show up in your Facebook talking about that problem and talking about how you solve it.
I literally love that. That's amazing. So the Facebook group, so that's talking about the specific problem. Are
Mm.
we having the same conversation on our actual Facebook profile, or is there a difference, or can we share the same thing to everything?
Yeah, so great point. So I teach something called the dual strategy, where you use your personal profile and your Facebook group in conjunction. So the benefit of a Facebook group is that it's actually a closed, safe community. And that's strategic, right? Because when people come into your Facebook group, you ask them very, very specific questions to check that they're a good fit. So this isn't just about letting anyone in. This is about asking questions that really identify, is this person an ideal client? So in my case, my Facebook group is the Limitless Female Entrepreneur. And so I'm asking very, very specific questions at the front door to find out, are they an ideal client? Do they have a business? What are the problems that they have? Am I an expert at solving those problems? So right from the front door, you can get very clear. So for instance, some of my clients over the years, one of my clients, she specialized in supporting teenagers. So she's a teen coach. And so she created a Facebook group for the mums of teenage girls who were struggling with middle school girl drama, right? So really, really niche. And again, at the front door, she asked very specific questions. So if they're not a mum and they don't have a teenager in middle school, they're not going to get inside the Facebook group. So your Facebook group acts as this closed special community that people want to get inside. So your personal page, you can very much use as a way of building know, like, and trust, and almost like a billboard for this is what I do and these are the problems I solve. And if you're interested in that, please come into the Facebook group. And what this does is it acts, it's more exciting and special. And the mistake people make is that they tend to just put the same content on both, whereas your Facebook group should be this closed special space. For instance, I recommend that my clients give special trainings and they're only accessible inside the Facebook group. So again, on your personal page, you might be like, hey, I've got this special group and I just did a training on, I don't know, let's say that you're a coach who specializes in helping mums with triplets get their babies to sleep, right? If you've got triplets and your babies aren't sleeping, I've just did a special training inside my mums of triplets Facebook group. And so people are like, oh, I want that. And they'll come in. But equally, you might be a financial expert and your specialism might be helping people have their first, I don't know, get started on stocks and shares. And so again, on your personal page, you might say, hey, are you between the ages of 45 and 55 and you want to start investing? Come inside my Facebook group where I'm teaching you the 3 steps to start your investment portfolio, for example, right? So you want to use them in conjunction, but you want to make the Facebook group special and a place where you give special trainings to kind of attract people in.
I literally love that. Thank you. That was such a clear and concise breakdown. Now, what if we get the listener that's sitting there going, I don't want to give all my information away for free in my Facebook group? Are we giving everything away in the Facebook group? Or are we holding back? And how are we interacting here?
Yeah, so it's really interesting. So, as you know, for my clients, I teach you very, very specific strategies on how you deliver content and trainings in a way that doesn't give away, the whole, all the secrets, right? Because if you give away all the secrets, then why are they actually going to invest in you? And so, there's very specific strategies you can use, right, to meet the clients where they're at, which is really important. The reason why I'm laughing is because I'm moving into a stage, and I literally read a quote today that said, you can give someone everything. That's not what people are paying for. They're paying for the implementation. And I was like, oh, isn't that interesting? And if you think about it, we live in an age and a world, and specifically with AI now, right, where it's not a case of us not necessarily knowing what to do or not being able to get access to the information to know what to do. What we're really looking and needing for is support, is implementation, is when you come up against something and you've got a mindset block or you've got sometimes a strategic block or a process block. Who is that person that can look at your business and identify and say, okay, well, the reason why you haven't been able to do step C is for ABC reasons, and let's work that through. So it's interesting you asked me that question because, 2 years ago, my answer would have been, well, no, absolutely don't give them everything. Just give them this high level version. And I certainly do teach. We teach the how, not no, the what, not necessarily the how, right? And that's for a number of reasons. Because first of all, sometimes it would just be overwhelming, right? And I see people making the mistake all the time, like they're an expert and they know their stuff, and so they just vomit on the poor person listening, and the poor person's like, oh my goodness, I have no idea what you're talking about, and they wouldn't be able to do anything with it, right? But the other reason as well would in the past would have been very much around, well, yeah, but we want them to buy from us, right? So we don't want to give everything. Now, this third phase, as I'm moving into my next goal is to have $1 million months, I'm very much like, well, actually, let's give everyone everything. And the people, my ideal clients, will want to be in my containers because they'll want that proximity, they'll want that support, they'll want that access so that they can have help with actually implementing sometimes what they already know, and a lot of the times what they don't know, but what they need to know in order to be able to get it done.
Yes, I love that. Thank you. And the proximity is in the power because everything is energy and vibration and frequency, and just tapping in and connecting with those mentors. It is different to just watching a video. Like there's such a
Thousand
difference
percent.
there.
And I suppose just to support that, that's why I flew to the other side of the world for this mastermind I'm in, to be in a room with six, seven, eight. I think there was even nine-figure entrepreneurs in that room. Because you're absolutely right, proximity is power. And it's not just when I was sitting in the room, for the official training days, it was the lunches and the conversations we had over lunch. It was the dinners and the conversations we had over dinner. Like on one of the days, we did this hot seating where you talk about your problem, and then everyone in the room, who are really really successful entrepreneurs, give you feedback on what they think you should do or what you might not be seeing or whatever it might be. And so I asked my question, and it was fabulous, and I got some great feedback. And then when the session had come to an end, one of the people in the room said, oh, Hayley, I didn't get to tell you something that I wanted to tell you because we ran out of time. And he was like, which dinner were you going to tonight? And it just so happened that we were on the same dinner list. And he was like, let's talk over dinner. And so when I get to dinner, he pulls out his bag, he gets his pen and his paper, and he's like, right, I want to share with you. And he was sharing with me his 17-week schedule. He runs 5 businesses, multiple seven-figure businesses, and he wanted to share with me what his 17-week plan is to run these businesses really successful, to have the rest, the relaxation. And I'm all about balance, right? So I was like, oh, this is gold, right? And it's those conversations, it's that learning from people who've gone before you, who can break down what they do and then teach it to you. I always say the only shortcut to success is having a mentor, right? There's no other shortcut, right? But you want amazing mentors and guides who've been there, done that, and bought the t-shirt and can turn around and go, don't make the mistake that I made. Do this instead. That's how you collapse time.
Yeah, no, I love that. Thank you. Thank you. And I want to go down two tangents because I know that people are going to go, okay, we've got people in the Facebook group, but how do we actually sell them? But at the moment, this is such a great segue into having that limitless mindset. Like,
Mm.
what is it in you that made you, obviously, first of all, kind of go, all right, I'm going to pick Facebook groups and see what happens, to then going to, all right, I'm going to somehow create 50K months, to then going, all right, I'm going to create 380K USD months and fly to the other side of the world a week later and go to a mastermind. Like, how did you even develop this limitless mindset to do all these things?
So I think that's a brilliant question. The thing that's dropping in for me clearest as you ask that question is really living and dying by progress, not perfection, right? And really living by yeah, just taking messy, imperfect action. So I honestly believe that my success is because I just do it, and I'm not scared of failing. And when I do fail, I don't even think of it as failing. I'm just like, oh, great, that's not how not to do it. And oh, great, I've learned that about myself. And yet completely committing. So this launch, where I think it was 380,000 USD, it was my first challenge that I've ever run, Simone, right? But I committed to it like it was my 100th challenge, right? And if we go back to the beginning, when I set up the Facebook group, I showed up in that Facebook group like I had 10,000 people in there, and I probably just had my brother and my sister and my family members, right? So I think I know you're all about the energetics. I think the energetics of how you approach something is really, really important. Showing up with the energy of 10K months if you're not there yet, 50K months, 100K months. So right now, I always say you're whatever you're calling in, it's because you're an energetic match to it. So right now, I'm an energetic match to $1 million months. But my bank account is not $1 million months, right? My energy is, and I'm showing up. And so, someone who's enjoying $1 million month, she absolutely runs a 30-day challenge, calls in $380,000, and then jumps on a plane to the Dominican Republic to be in a room with six, seven, eight-figure entrepreneurs. That's what she does. And so, it's like, how can you align who you are, or more importantly, who you need to be able to achieve what your next step is? Does that answer your question?
Yes, it definitely does. And do you have any like little tips for people that they could kind of do every day to get into the habit of developing a limitless mindset?
Absolutely. So I always say every day when you wake up, it's like a fresh start, right? And I think unfortunately a lot of people waste that morning time. A lot of people allow their phone, their emails, their messages to dictate how they feel. And so I love a morning routine, and my morning routine consists of not touching my phone, right? Until I have done the things that I need to do to get myself in the right mindset. And that includes my meditation, that includes my exercise, that includes maybe some journaling, some writing. I make sure that I set, you know the expression like set the stage or set the stall before anything else. It's so important, and I know that if people can have a really, really powerful morning routine, the energy with which you go to work on your business, the energy with which you attract your ideal clients is set in such a powerful way that you attract into your world people, opportunities that you would not attract if you don't set your day up for success. So we've all had those mornings, when your alarm goes off late or something happens, and then you're rushing out of bed, and then you hit your knee, and then you're brushing your teeth, and then the toothpaste goes on your top, right? Like it's just one thing after another happens, and then you've got the momentum of negativity, right? Versus getting up really, really intentionally. And I get up very, very early. Not always, but when I'm in my routine, I'm getting up at 4 a.m. And I know some of your listeners are going to be like, okay, I liked this woman until she told me I had to get up at 4 a.m. Right? But I'm not telling you have to get up at 4 a.m. I didn't start getting up at 4 a.m. What I did is I set my alarm just 15 minutes earlier. So this is when I was still working corporate. Say I had to get up at 7, right? I set my alarm for 6:45, and what happened is I just gave myself those extra 15 minutes, and I found that I was just so much happier. I was so much more relaxed. I was nicer to my children in the morning, and I enjoyed it so much that I was like, okay, tomorrow I'm going to give myself half an hour before I need to get up. And then I enjoyed that so much that I was like, and I was writing a book at the time. I was like, oh, well, maybe if I gave myself 45 minutes, I could write for 45 minutes. And I had so much fun. Before I knew it, I was getting up at 4 a.m. and having this beautiful 2 hour window of exercise, meditation, journaling, writing. And it was just so beautiful that I didn't want anything else to come in the way of it. Right? And so, absolutely, if you're asking for specifics, I would really, really encourage your listeners to look at how they're starting their day. Because I always say, win the day. If you can start your day successfully, if you can win the day in those first few hours, that ripples out. And then one fantastic day becomes a fantastic week, which becomes a fantastic month, which becomes a fantastic quarter, which then becomes a fantastic year, which becomes a fantastic 5 years, which becomes a fantastic decade, right? Like it compounds over time. But everyone's always like, well, how have you achieved so much? And it's like, well, let's get really granular and let's start on every single day. I start very intentionally with a really, really special morning routine. And your morning routine can be whatever you want it to be, right? So it doesn't have to include any of the things that mine includes. For some of my clients, they love painting and haven't painted for like 10 years. And I'm like, well, paint in the morning or go do a cold swim, or it can include whatever you want, but it's got to be something that excites you and is going to feel really, really nourishing for you.
Yeah, no, I love that. Thank you so much. So, yeah, like I really love how you've managed to make a routine that gets you in the best mindset, gets your
Mm.
business moving forward, and gets you lots of family time. Like, that's what's so limitless. Is like I'm listening to you going, I know she's got kids that get up. Like, I know that there's like a family there as well. And she gets up and she does her journaling and she gets her mindset going. And I'm sure there's some business things she does. And then she jumps into her day. And you're literally sitting there smiling. Like, you're not sitting there going, so I get up at 4 and it's shit. And I really hate it, but I do it because it's what I have to do. Like you're
It's
just
my
so like,
favorite. It's my favorite time of the day. And here's the thing that I want to stress though. At no point when my alarm goes off at 4 a.m. do I ever want to jump out of bed. Like I think that's really important to know. So I have this mantra that I say to myself that when the alarm goes off, I say, Hayley, you do things people wouldn't dream of doing, so you can have a life people can only dream of, right? And for me, this is this sentence that kind of it's like my best cheerleader that goes, oh yeah, we do hard things because we want to create a limitless life. And so that sentence allows me to motivate myself to get out of bed. Once you've got motion, motion is really good for building momentum, right? So that motion creates momentum, which means you're up. As soon as you're up, it's so much easier. But there's that second, right, where you can just like the temptation to roll over. It's like, no, don't do it. Have a sentence that says to you, I'm building my legacy, or I'm building my limitless life, or I'm building my empire, whatever that sentence is, say it to yourself. And then also a real practical thing, don't have your alarm within arm's reach, right? Because if you do, you're just going to hit it, right? So have it across the other side of the room that forces you to get up. And then when you're getting up and you're saying the sentence, then you're up and then you're remembering, well, why was it important for me to get up? Well, it's important because I'm building my legacy, I'm building my business, I'm building whatever it is. And you're absolutely right. After I've had my morning routine, every morning we always have a cooked breakfast in our house. It's just something that we love. And so yeah, I'm sitting and I'm having a cooked breakfast with my family, and then on some days I'm dropping the kids at school. Sometimes Mike does, who also works in the business because I retired him. So it's, yeah, you're absolutely right. Like these are the things that are important to me, and they all start, and in actual fact, Simone, it's probably important, they actually start the night before. Most people, when they're going to bed and they put their head on the pillow, say things like this: oh, I'm going to be so tired in the morning. Oh, when my alarm goes off at 5 a.m., it's going to hurt, right? So be really mindful as you're putting your head on the pillow. What are the words that you're whispering to your unconscious mind just before you fall asleep? And so being really strategic and saying, when I wake up, when the alarm goes off, I'm going to feel refreshed and revitalized. I'm going to be excited to start my day really intentionally. Whispering those words just before you go to bed are really, really powerful.
yeah, I love that. I love nighttime affirmations. I'm a huge
Yeah.
fan. And I love that you've also got that intention for yourself as well. Like the one in the first thing in the morning where you're like,
Mm,
I want to live a limitless life. So I have to, like, I want to do the things that other people aren't doing because that's what's going to
mm,
get me there. Like having some sort of statement that fires you up. So I
mm,
love that you're mentioning the night before and the next morning because for the audience,
mm,
if you can come up with that statement that lights you up, and you
mm.
even just a little tip, guys, you look at your phone on average something like 800 times a day. So if you put that statement onto the back screen of your phone, whatever that statement is for you, and you look at that 800 times a day, it's literally going to make some changes to your mindset. So
Yeah, that's
just a little
powerful.
other little tip there. But yeah, no, I love this. And so what about if someone is wanting to get started with Facebook groups? How are they getting people into their Facebook group? And then how are they selling them into courses? Are they sending them to a landing page or doing sales calls? Or how are we going from, yes, I want to start this Facebook group to now I've got a client? Yay!
Absolutely. And so you have the really niche Facebook group. You can promote the Facebook group using your personal page. But another really, really powerful question to ask yourself, and I still to this day remember, it was probably about 20 years ago now. I was sitting in another conference. I'm a lifelong learner. And it was in London. There was probably, I don't know, 3,000 people in the room. And the business coach at the front of the room asked us all to ask this question. And the question was, who has already collected a lot of your ideal clients? And it's such a powerful question. It's a question that people, I think, really don't ask, and also sometimes don't understand the significance of this question. Because when you think about who my ideal client is and who has already collected a lot of my ideal clients, this is the best best way to leverage and supercharge your own business. And so when I first set up this Facebook group, I didn't realize what I was doing, but I was in other Facebook groups. And so I was saying to these other Facebook groups, hey, I've just set up this Facebook group and I'm talking about this problem and I'm an expert at solving this problem. So if you're interested, would you like to come in? And they were like, yay. Like I remember waking up, I think I've got a screenshot of this, and like the requests, people coming into your Facebook book was like 800. Fine. I was like overnight, I was like, oh my goodness, 800 people want to come in one day. Like that was the early days. I haven't had that since, but I think it was just the simplicity of being really open, honest in other groups where they'd collected already my ideal clients, saying what I did, who I was, and just literally inviting them. And this is something that I call tribe hunting. So this is the idea of you work out who your tribe is, who has already collected a lot of your tribe, and then you go and hang out in those places to strategically bring them into your own Facebook group. And sometimes in other Facebook groups, you're not always allowed to promote. So this isn't necessarily even, you don't necessarily need to even drop the name of your Facebook group. If you're just talking about what you do and your story and sharing your client stories, people will naturally, if they're an ideal client, ask more questions. And so when they ask, then you can say, oh, well, I have this group and I offer free training in there. Come and check it out if you like.
I love that, and I love how simple it all sounds. Like I love that you have such a way of articulating things in a way that doesn't make it sound really hard or unachievable. Like everything you say is just so clear, and it's like, oh, okay, yeah, cool. This is achievable for me. So, yeah, I love that you say that. And then when they're in your Facebook group, how are you turning them into clients? Like, are they just going to a link and buying, or how does even that work?
Yeah. So brilliant question. So I think the rule that people need to remember is I always say if you're trying to be everything to everyone, you're nothing to nobody. And so once they're in the Facebook group, I see a lot of people doing the things that I'm talking about and bringing people into a Facebook group, but they're not showing up inside the Facebook group, right? And so once you've got your Facebook group, your job is to almost like imagine like you're hosting a party. And so if people have all come to this party, you don't want them turning up and be like this is the worst party ever, right? You're the host. And so your job is to not just talk about yourself, get them talking, get conversations going, really, really use as an opportunity to understand your clients. And then from there, you're absolutely right. You can. So the strategy that I adopted when I went from 0 to 10K and then even to 50K months, and then even actually when I made $126,000 in 1 month, I was still using this strategy. And this was simply inviting people to jump on a call with me. And so I was saying, if this is your problem, this is how I solve it, and this is evidence of how I've solved it. If you need help with that, book a call. So in my Facebook group, I was saying, I set up my Facebook group. I grew it to 1,100 people. I made $10,000 in the first 90 days. I then made 50K. I've then made 100K. I've just made 126,000. Would you like to learn how to do that? And they'd be like, yes. And I'd be like, well, book a call and we'll see if we're a good fit. That's all I did, as simple as that. And then the right people booked calls. I also had a lot of calls with the wrong people, right? I had calls with people I was like, this is not an ideal client. This is not someone I want to support. And so I also had to get really good about saying no to non-ideal clients. And I think that's a really important lesson to learn. Remembering if you're everything to everyone, you're nothing to nobody. Really, if you just focus on serving your ideal clients, you do a great job for them and then they go tell their friends who also happen to be ideal clients. It's a beautiful way of building out your business. So to answer your question, yes, I invited people to sales calls, but you could at that point invite them to a landing page where they can buy your product. You could invite them to watch a webinar. Like you can decide where you want to send them once they're in the group, but making sure that you're not just trying to sell to everyone and really focusing it on your ideal clients. So to give you a beautiful example of this, I was reading literally this week that this very, very big coach was saying, oh my goodness, there's this woman in Australia and she's just made $1.1 million from selling a very special shampoo for cavoodles inside her Facebook group. And I'm like, yeah, of course, right? Because this is what's possible with a Facebook group, because she's not trying to be everything to everyone. She's calling in people who have a cavoodle dog. Cavoodle dogs apparently have really sensitive skin and it's really hard to find the right shampoo. So she created a special shampoo for them. She collected cavoodle owners in her Facebook group and now she consistently sells her shampoo. Really simple. And it gets to be that simple.
Yeah, I literally love that. And I love that example of the cavoodle lady. But what I really love is, to me, like when you're in a position of responsibility, which I think all coaches are, and all mentors, everyone like that, it is actually having that integrity to say, actually, this isn't aligned for us right now. So I love the fact that you're saying it needs to be a win-win for both of us. Like it needs to be,
100%.
it can't just be a win-win for me taking the money if I don't think I can serve you, or like it needs to be a win-win for everyone. And so I literally love that you say that, because I think there are a lot of people out there who are like, I'll send you to a landing page and anyone can join. And I think it really helps you to build that community if you are building a safe place where the people you work with are literally able to thrive, because you've kind of vetted everyone and made sure it's a win-win for everyone before they came in. So I literally love that you've mentioned that.
And I think just to really emphasize that, so when I was working one on one, when I was first setting up my business, getting to 10K months, it was a link to book a call. When I had my mastermind, it was a link to book a call. And now with my Limitless mastermind, it's an application process. So people have to fill out this quite extensive, like it's almost like an interview, right? They have to answer questions, and sometimes I'll even then have a call with them after that if I need to, right? So you're absolutely right. It's kind of getting really, really clear. And the reason my philosophy on this from the day one has always been like I like to sleep well at night. And what I mean by that is I know when I say yes to someone and they say yes to themselves, it's a contract, right? Of I'm going to show up 1,000% and you're going to show up 1,000%, and this is how we're going to get results. So a lot of people are like, Hayley, how is it that all your clients are so successful? And it's for this very reason that I only work with people that I know I'm going to help them be successful, because that's good for them and that's good for me.
Yeah, I literally love that. And yay. And it's so nice seeing results as well. Actually, I would love, I know we're running out of time, but I just get so excited. I'd love it if you could share some of the different results you've had with different
Mm.
clients, because you have had such a diverse range of clients. Like you're talking people who can obviously not a client, but make money off selling dog shampoo, another one who had teenage daughters. Like what are some of the things that people can be a coach or a business in that a Facebook group
Yeah.
works for?
So I think, I mean, the other thing that I'll also mention, like one of my clients who comes to mind, like Meg's, she'd literally tried for 4 years to be successful online, right? And it wasn't until she joined my mastermind and we set up her Facebook group that she finally started making money from her business, right? So the other thing is as well, I attract people at all different stages and levels, and equally at the other end, I had someone who had an established business, and after 8 weeks, we made $105,000 in 4 weeks, again, just using a Facebook group, right? So I've had financial coaches, I've had spiritual coaches, I've had osteopaths, healers, teen coaches, um, exercise specialist, right? Like you name it, I've had it, because when it's really, really niche, that's why the Facebook group's so powerful, because you're just like attracting people who are your ideal clients. So Phyllis is a beautiful example. She was a classic, she's a tech specialist, but she was trying to be everything to everyone. And Phyllis made $13,000 in the first 7 weeks. We then made $26,000 in 1 month. She'd never made over $100,000 in her life. She made $155,000 in the first year, and she made over $150,000 in her second year as well. And she had 328 people in her Facebook group, right? So that's the other thing that we haven't really talked about, that there's a lot of what I call ego metrics. So you can have 10,000 people, 20,000 people, 50,000 people in your group, but to me, that's not important. Quality over quantity every time. And so what's beautiful about the Facebook group is that you don't even need thousands of people. Another one of my clients, she had 50 people in her Facebook group when she got her first two clients. My client who made $12,000 in the first 6 weeks, she had 70 people in her Facebook group. So we also have this opportunity with a Facebook group to have a small group, but leverage that and yet still make a lot of money.
Yep, I love that. I literally love that you're talking about the metrics, because that is the thing.
Mm.
So many people think if I don't have 5,000 followers, I'm not going to make money. And you're like 70, 35.
Right.
Like,
And I'm actually like Kylie's a beautiful example of that. She had 22,000 followers on Instagram, right? But wasn't making consistent income. We set her up her Facebook group. Actually, she had a Facebook group before, and I think maybe she had 100 people in there. She grew it to, I want to say, 400 people. She got fully booked with ideal clients, right? Consistent 10K months, right? And when I interviewed her, she was like, "Hey, I had 22,000 people on Instagram not making any money. I set up this little Facebook group and nurture it and do exactly what we've spoken about during our chat. I attract them in, I nurture them, I convert them, and now I'm fully booked with ideal dreamy clients." And she's a declutter coach.
Wow, declutter coach.
Mm.
See, that's so
Yeah,
niche as well. Like
so
you would
niche,
be,
and and not even for everyone. Like a declutter coach for predominantly for women who have their own businesses.
wow, I
Yeah,
love
so
that.
cool.
Yeah,
Yeah.
see, it's amazing. And she does do some great content. I have seen a little bit of Kylie stuff and it's so amazing. But you would never think like a declutter coach can get to huge of like, you just wouldn't think that they'd be making
Yeah.
that consistent income. And that's a testament to how much niching actually
Mm,
does attract your ideal client. And the fact that there
mm.
is an abundance for everyone. There is an abundance of clients for every single person and every single coach out there, and anything
Absolutely.
less, any beliefs less than that are just coming from lack.
100%. And it's interesting you talking about like sometimes in the mastermind, I've had people of the same niche. And I'm like, yeah, but you're a different person. And so how you're going to show up in your Facebook group is different. The reason why your clients will hire you versus hire her are it's just different. So I had another declutter coach, and she made $6,000 in one day, right? We grew her group from 998 people to 3,800 people, right? And she had like a gazillion viral posts. She loved my viral post strategies. So you're absolutely right. It's like when people are like, "Oh, but this area is saturated," I'm like, "No, you just haven't worked out what differentiates you from your competitors. You haven't worked out what lights you up. And when you do that, and then you show up authentically with that, your ideal clients will love you for it. And there's more than enough for everyone."
I literally love that. Yay! Thank you. Now,
You're
if
welcome.
someone wanted to get started with Facebook groups, what are three top tips you'd recommend for them to get started today?
So the first tip is to definitely keep it very, very simple, right? So set up the Facebook group, and that would be step number one, and name it something really obvious, right? So the mistake I see people making is like, I always remember I had a client and I was like, "What's the name of your Facebook group?" And they were like Petals and Roses. And I was like, "Oh, are you a gardener?" And they're like, "No, I'm a dog trainer. One of my dogs was called Petals and one of my dogs was called Roses." And I was like, "Oh, Lord, help me." Right. So it's like, make it really easy for people to understand what your Facebook group is about. So if you're, sleep tricks for mums with triplets, call it that, right? If you're helping your clients buy their first property, name it, buy your first property, right? Like, don't try and be clever. So step number one would be set up a Facebook group. I suppose step number two is name it something that's really, really simple and obvious. And then step number three, show up inside that Facebook group authentically as you. Yes, there are lots of strategies that you can implement, but the most important thing is just build, know, like, and trust, and appreciate. If you have 50 people in your Facebook group, like imagine if 50 people turned up in person to your office, you'd be so happy, right? You'd be like, "Oh my God, I've got too many people." And so I think that's the mistake people make, that they don't see every single one of those 50 people or even 25 people represent human beings. And so be really appreciative of however many you've got in there and just love on them and serve them and watch your business boom. Boom.
I love that. Yay, thank you. And do you have
Welcome.
any recommended resources you think that would benefit from the audience, like books that have changed your life or courses, anything like that?
Yeah. Well, I'm obsessed with books and I read like a book every day. Well, not a whole book every day, but I'm never without a book. So I'm trying to think what would be my I'll come back to the book in terms of resources. obviously, I have my Facebook group, which is the Limitless Female Entrepreneur Community. And so I would love to invite your listeners to come and join us inside there because I do what I teach. So there's lots of free training and support in there. It's an amazing community. At this point, we have over 10,000 women all around the world. And so if they go to facebook.com/groups/ live a limitless life. So that's live a limitless life. And they can join our community of limitless entrepreneurs and get some free training and support. So I definitely recommend that they dive in there. And I suppose in terms of books, I would really recommend that they work out what is it that they want and need at this point, because there are so many books on so many different topics. I don't know if you can see all my books on my shelf, right? So I dive deep into finances and then into marketing and then into business and then into energetics. And so I would really encourage your listeners to work out, okay, well, what is it that I want to focus on in this moment? And then go and dive deep depending on what their focus is, if that makes sense.
Yes, I literally love that. I'm always like, always one of the biggest themes that I talk to people about on the show is having self-awareness. And so
Mm,
it's literally having that self-awareness of what do I need to do right now? What do I need to read or learn to get to my
mm,
next level? So I love that your
yeah.
answer is take stock of where you're at and go from there.
Yeah, absolutely.
And also, can you share where people can find you? I'm guessing obviously Facebook, but if you could
Yes.
fill in the audience.
And so this is the beautiful thing. I think my team do post my content onto Instagram, but I'm not on Instagram consistently and I'm not on any of the other social media platforms consistently. Watch this space because as I move into $1 million months, I absolutely have plans to be on all the platforms. But at this point, Facebook is the place where you will find me. And obviously my personal page, Hayley Hall, and then my Facebook group, Live a Limitless Life. So if they hang out there, then they'll get to see me consistently and regularly because I'm showing up in my Facebook group supporting my community.
Yay! I love that. And thank you so much for your time today. Like, I
You're
will link all
welcome.
your details below, but it has just been such an honor to connect with you and share all your wisdom with the audience because you do just have such a beautiful light and so much knowledge. And you've just made such an amazing inspirational life for yourself. So, really, really,
Thank you.
really appreciate you being here.
Well, I appreciate you having me, and you know I love you, so thank you for this.
Thank